What's going on, guys? It's Max today with a video on Meet Your Maker, the newest game from Behavior Interactive. This video is a little bit different. It's going to be an honest review of my perspective, somebody who played the game during the open beta and currently plays it now, and I'm streaming it live on Twitch, and going over just the basics of the game. Should you buy it? Some pros and cons, the future of the game that we've seen so far, and just some closing thoughts that I have on the game. If you're interested in more Meet Your Maker content, drop a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Leave a comment down below on what you guys want to see some videos on for Meet Your Maker. I originally think I'm going to be doing some beginner-friendly guides for getting started, just kind of some tips and tricks that I've found in my gameplay. But beyond that, I might go back to doing some of my more traditional discussion video style content if those seem to be interesting. But without that out of the way, let's just get started. So, for starters, if you know about the game already and just want to know if I recommend you buy the game or not, it's not really an easy yes or no for me. The gameplay of raiding and building, if it's appealing to you, by all means pick the game up. The future updates seem very promising, and getting a head start on all the upgrades you'd want are going to presumably help once those come around the game. If you're still a little on the fence about it and you want to hear some more details, stick around and I'll just go through some of my points for the game. Meet Your Maker is a post-apocalyptic first-person building and raiding game where every level is designed by players. You take on the role of a custodian, whose job is to raid another player's base, navigating through traps and guards to ultimately acquire the genetic material inside, or GenMat, and escape alive to sustain the chimera in your base. If you're not on the offensive, your second duty is to build bases to protect your GenMat from being taken from others, using the same tools to build your own nightmarish landscape for other raiders to get through. Stealing GenMat from other players' bases and getting kills in your base rewards you with different resources that you'll use to upgrade your character with new suits, perks, and weapons and consumables to give you a better arsenal at your disposal to tackle the next mission. Those same resources could also be spent to unlock new traps and guards with unique augments or mods to make them function slightly differently, making sure the opponents will never suspect everything that you have planned for them. With the Super Mario Maker style approach to content, where every level is created by another member of the community, there is theoretically unlimited replayability and unique levels to see in the game. And I think that structure is extremely beneficial and advantageous for the game. Being able to raid and build with another friend is also an awesome experience, and it personally made it for a great way for me and my friends to pass the time and laugh while we were watching each other get blown up from different traps, or maybe trying to come up with some unique ideas together for base building. For the future of the game, the developers are very active and adamant on making sure they listen to the community, and that's something that really does excite me. With new mods and augments for defenses coming soon with the regular updates, and an entire major update in June with a full new environment, custodian, weapon, trap, and guard, it would be amazing to see how much more they can come up with. If this is the type of content we'd expect to see with the new sectors, I'm extremely optimistic about the direction of the game and the future that it plans to take. The developers also had an AMA on Reddit, going into some direct feedback from the players about what they've liked and didn't like, going over proposed changes or ideas to make the game more appealing, and so on. I honestly really loved this, seeing that there were some questions about balance and level design to simple things like having a little pet harvester in your sanctuary. They seem to be extremely passionate and excited about all the new opinions going into the game. On a very small personal note, I was actually able to work with support on my account trying to reset some progress, because admittedly I messed up during the open beta. I spent on questionable upgrades that I probably realized were a little bit of a waste, and they actually responded to my reply in literally just a few minutes. That felt pretty unheard of, the fact that an entire development team was willing to respond to a random person like me within minutes, being able to reset my account and give me the open beta cosmetics that I had before. It just felt awesome to see a development team that was so responsive and passionate about the game that they were working on, and that honestly was super refreshing for me to see. Personally, I've been enjoying the sense of progression that I get in the game from playing more and more. It's not just the mechanical feelings of getting better with the grappling and double jumping movement, and not even just the fact that I'm getting more upgrades for my weapons and bases, but knowing how much more the game can have is going to be extremely fun. The replay system in the game also lets you revisit your playthroughs of other people's levels or watch how other raiders attempted to tackle your own base. If you're the analytical type, kind of like me, this could be great insight into seeing how people are navigating your base to figure out what combinations of defenses are working well. Now, admittedly, my hesitation for recommending this game outright is just the current state of the game on the release. There's not that many bugs or anything going on. I've seen some people having issues with the grapple, which could be resolved pretty easily, and the guard AI does seem to get a little bit confused on pathfinding, but I can even push that aside. The gameplay loop can feel pretty stale and get old somewhat quickly. And admittedly, that's my biggest fear for the game as it stands right now. I really do like raiding, but there's only so many times I can run into the same few traps and guards that are out in the game right now, where I feel like the tools that we have are somewhat limited. The prevalence of kill box maps, or maps that emphasize a lot of defenses protecting the single forced choke point a player has to go through, has made me realize that not all levels need to be beat, and that's okay. I think part of my thoughts are that people might just give up on your level and not try to get through, and honestly, that leads me to think about a couple things. One is that you're rewarded for raiding and stealing the gen mat in the center, as well as defeating every single trap and guard that you come across. While that's not inherently a bad thing, it might lead some people to realize that seeing an outpost built with something they don't like can just be dodged, and you don't have to worry about it. It's awesome in theory to not force players to play levels that they don't like, but I could also see it feeling bad for a player who built an awesome death machine only for it to sit abandoned because nobody wants to try and go through that headache. It comes off as though the quote-unquote meta, as it were, would be to design a base that constantly kills people, but still gives enough of a sense of progression to where people don't want to give up, and you feel like you can go into the level even further. With those as more direct sources of resources in the game, it makes me think that there could be some alternative ways to make the game refreshing and exciting, even given the existing tools that we have right now. I think one addition to the game that could really bring a unique perspective would be a reward or challenge for time. In the game, taking caution at every turn and being patient will always be rewarded, as one misstep means you're dead and you have to start all the way back from the beginning. I like that the levels are almost like puzzles, in a sense bombs that need to be defused by tackling one portion of the map one safe step at a time to make sure that you're okay moving forward. Other times, and admittedly this is probably because I am impatient, I like being able to just dive in with my grapple with zero fear and actually make it through alive as quick as I can. I think if there were maybe a daily or weekly level or challenge that was hosted somewhat like a speedrun, where the fastest times in and out get rewarded with resources or maybe a unique cosmetic, that could really shake things up in the game. It would give people incentives to levels that they may not play and promote a different playstyle than people might be used to. If everyone continues to play in this more slow and cautious playstyle, what if we reward the reckless? Make them go crazy, and at that point, you're probably going to get rewarded for your level if you try to put a time bounty on it. I fully understand that that's kind of a personal opinion for something I would like to see in the game, but I think it would at least keep me personally more invested in the game to check out compared to the current amount of content that we're currently working with. Also, while not extremely necessary, the story and world building feels a little bit more limited. It seems like a very standard post-apocalyptic world where you need to support your chimera with pure genetic material untouched by an unnamed disease that made the world the way it is. And it really doesn't go much more deep than that. It's not to say there's anything wrong with that. However, I feel as though part of the hesitation on recommending the game just comes from the fact that there really is no story to go into much further, and a lot of the enjoyment of the game does come from that gameplay element. So hearing all of that, should you buy Meet Your Maker? If you like the gameplay of raiding bases and dismantling other players' puzzles, or maybe you have that tower defense mentality of building the greatest fort possible to fend off players, I definitely say it's worth checking out. With so much content coming around the corner, if this is what the developers continue to do with the game, it's only a matter of time before the new suits and weapon combinations for custodians means lots of new playstyles that are supported to tackle levels. New traps and guards make even more toys to mess around with, and those unique new combinations can really make levels feel like a headache to get through. I think there's a ton of potential with Meet Your Maker, and hope that the developers have lots of plans for exciting things to add. When I think about a comparative game, Dead by Daylight as it stands right now, it's a live service game that's had years of content updates, and the game definitely has a lot of appeal and enjoyment to it now that there's been so many more killers, perks, and maps that you get to play on and choose from. I think Meet Your Maker is currently at that very early stage of the foundation of a genre that really could take off with some more love and effort put into the game that the developers seem extremely passionate about working on. Imagine having a suit and weapon combination with a ton of unique choices that really hone into your preferred playstyle. Raiding an outpost with so many different trap combinations, you really have no idea what to expect next. The possibilities at that point start to feel pretty endless. I'm extremely hopeful for the game and excited to see so much more about it happening. But as it stands right now, we have a limited amount of tools to work with, and it's up to you to decide if that's super fun to work with or not. Let me know what you all thought of this video. This is the first time I ended up jotting down a script and, putting a little bit more work and editing into the style. So if you guys did enjoy it, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe, and comment down below your opinions on the game. If you have any future video ideas, maybe some guides you'd want to see, or maybe just some level tours, let me know and I'd love to hear about them. Thank you everybody for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.